So it's time to leave the waking world behind and enter the nightmare realm of Fatal Frame 3 yet again.
This place is...
So last time around, we opened what seemed to be a familiar door into very unfamiliar territory. And normally I would go ahead and press forward, but there are some optional ghosts waiting in some of the previous areas. As we head out into the courtyard here, we can already hear the soft sobbing of something nearby, and something is causing our viewfinder to be set off, but we're going to ignore that for right now, due to something of a dickish move on the part of the game. Instead, our first destination is going to be that lower storage room where we found the alarm function before. Now we hear that soft sobbing again, but that's not going to be our first surprise.
Haven't you seen him?
Now our first surprise is a visit from that wandering mother we saw before. Now, if we did happen to take a picture of the ghost in the courtyard, that ghost would not have appeared. Not really sure why, just the game playing a really dirty trick on you, as if you do happen to take their pictures out of order, you won't be able to get all the vanishing ghosts on your first playthrough. But we can now safely head back to the courtyard and find out just who was sobbing and where they were. Now it's not immediately obvious, but there is a little path behind the tombstones here. And though it's a bit hard to make out, that is the young daughter of the wandering mother. Yeah, all the optional ghosts that we are going to be running into are all connected with those two ghosts, and it will shed some more light on their backstory. The next ghost is pretty close by. You may recall that upper floor storage area. That's where we're going to find the little girl. And in case you couldn't figure out, the game was nice enough to give you a hint. She's going to be right over to our left here, crying in the corner.
Dad is dead.
Now, the good news is, for that young girl, she won't actually vanish whenever you look at her, so as far as I can tell, you have plenty of time to take a picture of her. But it does seem like there is definitely a sad backstory, as I think there is with pretty much anybody that we find in the Manor of Sleep. Now, as we head back through the partition room, we do want to go ahead and pick up that Type 14 film yet again, as we are going to be doing quite a bit of fighting in this update.
Won't you help me find him?
And this particular vanishing ghost gives us our first piece of musty film. actually going to be getting quite a bit of musty film for this update. But we don't have too much farther back to go. We're just going to be heading straight over to the hearth room, or the sunken fireplace room, I think it's also called. If anything, in addition to giving us backstory, all these vanishing ghosts also give us quite a bit of points that we can use to upgrade our camera. So before we head to find that crying girl, we're going to go ahead and pick up the little cache of herbal medicine. And the little girl we're going to find hiding upstairs. And with this small scrap of paper, we finally find out just what happened to Daddy. It seems he was trying to get the ball for the young girl, slipped and fell, and more than likely snapped his neck and died. For some reason, though, that also triggers the young girl to become hostile towards us, and we get our first encounter with the young daughter ghost. Now overall, she doesn't have a lot of health, and she doesn't have that many attacks. I would almost compare her something to Chitose from Fatal Frame 2. She will teleport around a lot, and she will try to run through you or grab you, but for the most part, as long as you don't stay in the viewfinder mode, she's not that difficult to deal with. And for the most part, we won't be running into that hostile ghost too many times. With that out of the way, though, we can now safely head back to that brand new hallway we opened up, and I guess feel a little bit more reassured that we know more about that ghost. Still, though, it is a bit of a shame that the mother, I'm wanting to say, seems to blame her daughter for getting her husband killed, but, well, I think carrying around all that guilt is probably not that healthy.
Give the child back.
Uh-oh. Also seems that the mom isn't too happy with what we did to her daughter, and, well, as with most tormented spirits, she seems to want to blame us for just being alive. Good news is that we know her tricks, and for our efforts we get more points and another musty piece of film. Also, we can call that a little optional side quest out of the way and continue on proper. Yeah, we find ourselves in a brand new area of the manor. Not really sure why that door didn't connect where we expected it to go, but, well, maybe we'll run into those areas we were familiar with at some other point. For now, though, we have 3 different ways to go, and, oh Jesus. We get another visit from the men in white. This time, though, they get a tiny bit of an upgrade in the form of a handheld weapon. This does allow them to do a nasty 3-hit combo if you give them the chance. But, as before, they have a pretty obvious tell and a pretty easy opportunity for a fatal frame. Still, though, you do want to be careful because they do have pretty much double the reach they did before. Alright, so we now have 3 choices of ways to go. The problem is the center path here is currently locked to us. So I think I have a strong feeling about this path down to the left, so we're going to go ahead and take that first. And immediately we hear something, oh, it's causing our camera to react. Now, this is definitely something that we have seen back in Fatal Frame 2. Though it is left up to question if it really has any connection with what we saw back in All Gods Village. Either way, it seems that there is a reel on the projector, so let's go ahead and take in movie time.
You can't escape.
Except movie time is interrupted by a tiny vanishing ghost. I think we saw those in the visions before we entered the dream, but if you're wondering what the movie is about, let's just say your guess is as good as mine for right now. But let's go ahead and collect the film in case we want to view it later. Let's just take a quick look at the rest of the room. Now there's a little nook over here where on New Game Plus, if you do happen to look upwards towards the books, you get a little bit of a surprise. It's another one of those young shrine maidens. But more importantly, we do find some Type 14 film waiting here, and this is another reappearing cache that we'll find in later evenings. In addition to that though, if we go ahead and search this back room here, it doesn't initially appear like there is anything in here, but if we search the bookcase we'll find a little hidden note. And it's our first piece of folklore. Yeah, this gives our first insight into the ritual that might or might not have gone on at this Manor of Sleep. The only thing that we can really take away from this is that it seems that the people that happen to frequent this shrine, or actually live at the shrine, were mostly women, and that occasionally they would have people visit in what would resemble a funeral procession. In addition to that note, though, we also receive a very important new piece to our camera, the tracking. Now, tracking is very useful as it will home in automatically on any hostile or vanishing ghost that may happen to be nearby, and this will make not only combat vastly easier, but it will be making capturing some vanishing ghosts exceptionally easier, so that's a very nice upgrade to get. And almost immediately, we do get our first opportunity to use it. With a somewhat familiar ghost. Yeah, you may recall that from the black and white daydream we had, and actually this lattice here is where we first saw her, but on the opposing side. That means we are getting into somewhat familiar territory, but in a completely different location. And here we find our second hidden ghost. Now I think this one is referred to the Carpenter. I won't show the description for that one, as it does kind of spoil some things for later on. But we also find some more herbal medicine here, and this is yet another reappearing cache that we'll be seeing for later on. Otherwise, though, there isn't too much going on in this hallway. But something is causing our camera to react. Maybe it's in this tiny room here. Or... I don't know, that looked like a pretty large courtyard. Ah, this is definitely another familiar area from that daydream we had earlier. And if I remember correctly, there was a door off to the side where we saw you go in earlier. Maybe that's where we need to head this time around as well. No, it does seem to be barred off to us. We might as well go ahead and check it out. Maybe we can rip down the ropes. But that was really just to trigger that particular vanishing ghost. Now, this is another situation where you could possibly miss out on that vanishing ghost if you happen to go the wrong way in this little courtyard area. Because if you just happen to head to the tree first, you will trigger another vanishing ghost. Another little bit of a dick move on the part of the game, but, well, that's why I'm here to guide you around. But let's go ahead and investigate this odd tree here in the center. And we get a musty picture of the same tree. There is a good chance it might explain this odd doll that seems impaled and tied up on the tree itself. In addition to that, though, there is an easily missed item down by the stairs here. And it is our first stone mirror. Now, those of you who have not seen the other Fatal Frames, the stone mirror is the possibly best healing item of the game. If you do happen to go down to no health whatsoever, it will immediately fill up the character's health to full. The only problem is that you can only ever carry one at a time, so you kind of have to be careful of where they are and who uses them. But I decided not to follow directly after that vanishing ghost just yet, as there are a few important items to go ahead and pick up in this new area. First and foremost, we get our first power lens of the game, and that is the slow lens. Now, as the name denotes, this particular lens will cause any enemy ghost that is shot with it to go to a slowing speed, allowing for easier opportunities at shutter chances and fatal frames. For the most part, though, I choose not to use it, as it does make getting fatal frames a bit more difficult, mostly due to the fact that I'm a bit more used at getting them at normal speed. Also, we see that the HUD has been upgraded to now have a slot for that lens and the spirit orbs. But in addition, in this room we can also find some hidden away Type 61 film. And also, if you were curious, we can take a quick look around at some of the lovely decor. Yeah, I don't know what it is with these games and their freakish dolls. But let's go ahead and check out the upstairs area. And we get another brand new vanishing ghost. We could try to investigate just who that was, but yeah, no such luck here. It's just a locked door. For now, though, we're going to go ahead and head back to that hallway where we saw the young vanishing shrine maiden heading towards. Also, it's a bit soft in the background, but I swear I can hear more of that familiar ting sound we've heard before. And there's some other sound outside of this aura going on. I have a definite idea where that young girl is. Yeah, it definitely sounds like some very soft singing. And for our efforts of investigating the door, we do get an entry into our notebook about that mysterious lullaby we're hearing. Yeah, we need to head back to that enclosed room all the way back at the hearth room. It seems to be on the other side. Oh, Jesus Christ. Now we get a visit from another brand new attacking ghost. We saw this faceless gentleman in our daydream, and he is known as the Hidden Face Man. Overall, not too difficult. He does do quite a bit of damage if he does chop into you with his hatchet.
Sacrifices.
But his AI always seems to command him to run straight at you. He doesn't do any kind of odd teleporting. So, as long as you can get down when he's going to chop at you with his hatchet, not too terribly difficult. But yeah, we seemingly need to head all the way on a very long backtracking journey, but well, we do have one more final door in that three-way intersection we had before, and that's going to open up our first little shortcut of the game. And we can make another quick shortcut here by unlocking this door. As that will put us smack dab right in that intersecting hallway. So let's go ahead and check out the right path. Find ourselves in another very familiar room. And we saw this large room in our daydream. We saw you and the mother and daughter over there. But there are a few new things to pick up. First of all, I have some Type 61 film waiting in the closet here. And there is something causing our camera to react, though if we scan about, takes a bit of, oh, there it is, searching to find it. Kind of hard to tell what it is from here. Maybe if we get a little bit closer, you can tell that it's an arm. Yeah, not too sure what to make of that, but we don't have any way to pull this shutter up as there seems to be pulling on it from the other side. But that's not our main concern for right now. We want to go ahead and explore the rest of this room. There isn't too much going on in it for right now. The upstairs we didn't investigate before, as it would have triggered a special visit from the Hidden Face Man in the daydream. But it will hide away a bottle of sacred water this time around. And that's all there is to do up here. It may look like there's a door over there, but it just leads straight into the hallway. It's just kind of a odd dead drop. Also, where we took a picture of the mother and daughter before, find some more Type 14 film. This is yet another cache that will reappear on every subsequent night. And yeah, just nothing but creepy dolls. But we're going to ignore that long stretching hallway down there, and instead we're going to try out the door where we had initially entered in the daydream. By unlocking this door brings us straight back into the hearth room where we need to be. Now I'm going to take a quick look at the map here, as it could probably be a bit disconcerting just the layout of the manor as of right now. I mean, the daydream kind of sets you up with some expectation of how things are going to be, but when you really get into the game proper, you see that the manor is laid out in just, for lack of a better term, something of a clusterfuck. The good news is that for the most part, the game is pretty good in laying out things in a really compact and straightforward manner, so really backtracking is kind of kept at a minimum, or at least kept to a time-concise manner. But we're going to go ahead and head to the corridor up here. And take what I think is probably the third picture of that young shrine maiden locked away in that room. Still no idea what her backstory is, but I kind of feel bad for her. And why is she locked up? Maybe in the end it's all part of the greater rituals that went on here. Even though I don't really know how comfortable I feel about a ritual using up multiple young girls in some horrible sacrifice. Still, though, we can finally head back to that door that we have now unlocked. But as the clock strikes, so does a brand new ghostly enemy. Super spooky. Yeah, this particular hostile ghost is known as the woman brushing her hair. I know it's not immediately evident why that name is what she is given, but we'll be finding out more about that later. For right now, not too difficult to deal with as long as you can get down this swooping attack. Also, she mentions her favorite Kamen Rider series. I love Agito as well. But with that, let's go ahead and make a quick jump cut back to the door we unlocked, as nothing else goes on in between here and there. And let's see what's waiting for us inside. This is certainly a interestingly decorated room. Yeah. Really get down the whole impalement motif. But we don't want to stay in here for too long. Instead, we want to just quickly investigate this altar here. And while there does seem to be a lot going on, there is just one point of interest, and that is this brand new key. Now, we don't know where the bellflower door is for right now, so... yeah, let's just leave this room behind and we'll go find that door. Or we'll get attacked. Yeah, who doesn't love to beat up on sadistic little children? Yeah, the shrine maidens have become hostile and will now quickly circle us and try to rush at us and appear in the ground. Yeah, like pretty much all these seemingly innocent entities of the house, this one turned mysteriously violent towards us. Though in the end, once we read this diary, we find maybe it wasn't the ghostification that caused this little girl to become violent at all. Yeah, she was a little bit violent beforehand. Faceless men, sadistic children, a continuing horrible tattoo growing on our body. Things just seem to be getting worse and worse with every night we enter our dreams. Well, we do have plenty of musty film to go develop, and yet again we can only hope that maybe Miku will cheer us up. That certainly is a familiar tune. I wonder where Miku heard it. How oddly coincidental that she happens to be having that same song in her dream that we were having. Yeah. Coincidence. I don't know, Kitty Cat, what do you think? Should we be worried? Well, fine then, you're no help. But yeah, let's go ahead and get our film developed. Maybe that'll take our mind off whatever the hell's going on. Oh, seems we have some mail waiting for us. But I'm going to ignore that for right now, as it will cause us to go into the next phase of the day. Now, we do have plenty of film to develop. Sadly, most of it isn't too helpful to our journey into life. We find out something about skewered dolls and the mother and daughter that we fought and learned a little bit more about. Though I'm not sure if she's holding her daughter there or something else. Still, they are a sad duo, and I can only assume that their guilt, both in losing a husband and having their father die, is probably what drove them into the manor. Also, we see the creepy visage of that young shrine maiden who tried to hurt us before. The thing is that we saw probably about 4 or 5 different shrine maidens while we were in there. Also, we get a developed picture of the projector itself. And this is important because it will trigger some additional information in Yu's room later. For now, though, let's go ahead and check out that mail that's waiting for us. Ah, it's another letter from Yu's friend. Seems this time around he is sending us a cassette tape of some testimony of someone else that has dealt with these urban legends. He also tells us that Mafuya and Yu were best buds to some degree in the world of urban legends. Also, it seems that Mio is not getting better. Sad news all around. But we do get a picture of Mio looking very concerned about something off camera. And we get that cassette tape. Wonder what information it will give us. Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to pop it in our nearby stereo system. We will be getting more cassettes throughout the course of the game, and we will be listening to them as soon as possible.
In my dream I saw my mother in that manor. Inside there was an old shrine. It was cold. Snow was falling. I could hear a song. There were so many people going into the shrine. It was like a funeral procession. I could smell incense burning. Everyone was hiding their faces. My mother was among them. No matter how many times I called her, she kept going further and further. And just before the door shut, it was like I was going to be left all alone. I saw it every day. I went in just a little bit. If I went any further, I wouldn't be able to come back. But I thought I could meet my mother in there.
Some very, very definite parallels to what Ray is going through right now. But we're not done just yet. Before we head to bed, I do want to go check up on Miku, especially after she's seemingly started to share some of our dream aspects. Now we can question her a bit about Mafuya. For the most part, though, she doesn't really seem up for talking about him, and just keeps on mentioning that, well, he's missing. Not dead, just missing. Sadly, that leaves us with an awkward pause, so I'm just going to leave her alone for right now. Still, my sixth sense is tingling. I get the feeling like something is amiss downstairs. Can you spot the difference? That's right. In the little cupboard area underneath the stairs, we find Miss Takagawa is yet again playing a little game of hide and seek with us. Let's see if we can't catch her. Oh, too slow. Still, it is a bit unnerving that someone from the dream world seems to be spilling over into the real world. Or, as someone pointed out in the thread, maybe we've just never woken up. But we can now safely revisit Miku. Really, all you need to do is enter and leave the room.
Having trouble sleeping? Do you need to sleep in here with me? Ray, this is it.
But she will now gladly hand over some of her investigative information that she has gathered from the previous night's pictures. And we find some very discomforting information about some temples that were built with the human remains of the carpenters that built the structures inside the walls. It seems very familiar to what we might have run into inside the Manor of Sleep. Now, that's not to say that location mentioned is the exact same location as the Manor of Sleep, just that there are certain parallels. Now, in addition to that, from the large masked grave that we took a picture of, likewise, in a completely different location, we find something very similar. Now, obviously, there are very common architectural ideas throughout any nations of the world, but mass graves with stacked upon gravestones is not something that I think is most common in architecture. And finally, we get one last piece of new information, and that is on the house we started out in our daydream in, or at least where we supposedly fell asleep on our feet. The house in question was built in the high mountains, and seems to have been a pretty popular place back in the day. At least it had people living around it, but gradually over time, more and more people started to move away or just plain out disappear, and for some reason or another, there was a rumor, as what more than likely caused us to investigate it, that there was a ghostly presence there, and that the entire place was connected to the quote-unquote other world.
If you need anything else, just let me know.
Well, now that you mention it, we do have some more film.
It seems like you're having a lot of nightmares lately. Are you alright? What can I do for you?
Though with all the pictures we did take, only one, the skewered doll, is the one that we give to Miku.
Understood. I'll let you know if I find anything.
But she has definitely shed some light, though not directly on the Manor of Sleep itself, just yet again some very, very oddly coincidental parallels. But, as I mentioned before, taking a musty picture of that projector in the dream world has unlocked yet another piece of information in the endless U bookcase of information. This time it's mostly useless. It just states a bit more about Assault and his magical camera obscura, and the fact that he built a projector specifically to show the images from the camera obscura to other people. Nothing too amazing there, but does shed a little bit more light on, well, I guess, what we found in All God's Village, and perhaps what we found in the Manor of Sleep. For now, though, we have done pretty much everything we can on this particular night, and I think it's a good place to go ahead and call it an update. So, hopefully you will join me next time as we venture back into the dream world, and hopefully stay away from any children with sharp objects.